David, I'll start with you. Just a little explanation about your role and your business, just for those in the room that aren't familiar.
Yeah, sure. So Kitech is primarily a Cisco partner. We do a lot of work around our customer care portfolio, have businesses around a data center portfolio as well. So I think as far as what we're talking about today, they're probably the two practices that have the most relevance to this digital transformation stuff that we're talking about.
Shame you missed the Huawei session. Daniel, what about you, mate?
Yeah, so PowerNet's a national IT service provider, traditionally professional services, more managed services as that became more prevalent. We do a lot of work in the Microsoft space, so most of our transformation customer journey is on the Microsoft stack.
Cool, and obviously you guys know Georgina now, so I won't get you to introduce yourself for the third time. Now we're going to just rewind it a little bit and split this last bit up into two parts. One around the transformation side, digital transformation, as you've heard a million times, but maybe attempting to define it, which is incredibly hard to do. So, but in another way, there's no right or wrong answer because no one actually probably can define it well. So safe in that respect. And then more into marketing, and it'd be good to hear what the partners think about some of the stats on the slides today and around their approach to building their brand. So, Daniel, I'll start with you around the digital transformation. It's a terrible question around trying to define it. I will ask it anyway. I mean, is it a question of maybe you can't define it? Is that the point, or are customers at a different stage what the partners are? Where do you even begin to attack that?
When you emailed me about joining today, I thought, if he asks me to define it, it's going to be really tricky.
Get it out of the way first.
Okay, so it's a probably underwhelming response, but probably indications what we mentioned in the foyer outside is that I see digital transformation really solving business problems using technology. And that doesn't sound really exciting, which is probably why people have clung to digital transformation. That sounds a lot more exciting. And really what we're doing is, I'm really proud actually to look at your presentation up there, because one of the top needs was to understand the business problems. And I really think that's something that we've been spruiking and hopefully doing pretty well, is actually investing, slowing the process down. Sometimes just saying to the customer, hey, did you realize that you can do all this really cool stuff already and that you can solve a lot of business problems already? Let's just slow the conversation down and look at, bring it closer. And around especially what Microsoft allows people to do out of the box with an E3 or an E5 subscription, when they realise they've been sitting on this for so long, suddenly the conversation becomes a lot easier. Yeah, that's probably it.
David, your attempt at defining. Good definition, by the way. I think you put it in a good context there, Daniel.
I think Daniel's made a pretty good definition there. I think for us, one of the key elements is that there has to be some new revenue stream, new business stream, new way of going to market as a result of technology. So it's not just about the modernisation, because as Daniel said, we've done that for a long time. If we just give it a new term, it's like collaboration, right? We called it IPTEL, and then it was collaboration. We'll have to have a new name for it soon. But when we talk about digital transformation, I feel like we have to drive something else for the business, and it's not just about technology. Like, we need the people to do things as well. One of the things we do in the customer care business is we can do that personalised service that you were talking about before. I know who you are, I know how to treat you. But if I bring in a profile and I know that your favourite team is, and you're not from Melbourne, so I'll give you a team, you're the Bulldogs for now. I know your favourite team is the Bulldogs, and the call comes in.
What colour are they?
They're red, white and blue, and they had a cracking win on the weekend.
Thanks, mate.
So the call comes in, and if I haven't equipped my people, they don't ask you about that cracking game on the weekend. They just get into everything else. So it's about putting the right tools in their hands, but to actually deliver that business value, you can have all the technology in the world. You really need to get the business along for the ride so that we can actually deliver a different customer experience out there.
So Bulldogs, good to know.
Doggies.
I'll keep that. Doggy. Okay. Georgina, just to round off that opening point around definitions, and again, it really depends on which way you come at it from any side of the market. Do you see that ambiguity there in terms of everyone's coming at it from a different angle? I mean, is there a definition out there, or is it just how you approach it depending on your business?
Yeah, I think language is fraught, and so it's going to mean different things to different people around how they define it in their organisation. So I don't think we can assume that we all mean the same thing when we talk about digital transformation. And back to your point, it's we very much care about, let's get to the business problem. What is it that you're trying to solve? What are your challenges? And then you work back from there, because technology can be an enabler for that, but it's not just technology, it's the people, it's the processes that also organisations need to think about in order to transform and leveraging technology to become more digital. So.
And David, just to bring you in, you mentioned net new and revenue streams, and I was touching on it as well around, if there's not money on the table for it, at the end of the day, that's what we're in it to make money. I mean, do you see that customers are putting money aside now for new technologies and new projects, or is that just pie in the sky thinking?
No, look, we're seeing customers do it, particularly in industries that are being challenged right now. Retail's a great example. Retail is really struggling with their bricks and mortar experience now. So they're looking for new ways to get out to market. How do you compete with Amazon? Amazon have just been almost the pinnacle of digital transformation their entire time. They're a bookstore, for goodness sake. And look at what they're able to achieve now. So we're definitely seeing businesses when they're put up against that sort of competition, definitely set money aside because they're almost banking their business on it.
Daniel, do you see it? Because as I said, it's all well and good to put a slide up there saying that customers are putting more money aside, but do you see it, or are they?
Yeah, definitely. So we very similar. We have a lot of retail clients, but when I think of a different vertical, people that are providing professional service, we run a lot of workshops around technology enablement and say, welcome, you've done this great project or migration, here's what you can do with it. Generally the marketing people become most excited because we've suddenly got all this really rich client information. So it started out as a CRM, just to better store information. Now we're able to do all the things that your Marketo can do, like the retargeting, and the value of that information is just skyrocketed. And it suddenly they start to think in a retail sense, how else can I use this? And I think that's what gets them excited. And often it's a really minor project, like if you were to do a Dynamics implementation as an example, it's not earth-shattering, but suddenly all these doors open and you get their appetite going for that transformation.
And I just want to stick on the partners, just on the point around, we talk about customers transforming, blah, 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 but do you guys have to? I mean, David, do you feel the need to upscale or change direction, either change how you sell, how your team sells, how you operate, how you market, the technologies you use, whatever? I mean, do you feel that need as well as the customer? Because I imagine that you're going to react or respond and you'll be defined by what your customers want. So how does that work?
Yeah, definitely. So we were halfway there. We're a very specialist organisation as it is. So we were halfway on the way to sort of that journey anyway. But customers are definitely wanting less of that technical skill and more of that alignment, and there was a comment there about understanding their customer, and I think understanding their customer and therefore understanding their business, because you can talk their language 2 steps down that value chain, as opposed to just selling to them and saying this is what you could do. You can start to say, well, this is what you will do, this is how you will change their experience with you, and this is what we've seen it do in other similar customers. So we definitely have to evolve, and we're going to become more consultants and less engineers, and that rate of change is increasing.
It's hard to do as well, isn't it? Because it's a different mindset and shift, and sometimes it's different people. And by different people, I mean a consultant would think a lot differently to an architect, or and you either got to rescale or look to add different places. So I mean, that's not a overnight thing, is it? You can't just say we're going to flip our business and tomorrow we're a different company.
Definitely not, and it's also a different billing mechanism as well, because you've got to change the way you get revenue, and managed service contracts are going to change. Everything is going to change as part of the business as we get down that journey.
And Dan, just to round this off, I know you're busy with a mega merger with Evolve IT, but apart from that, that will be the main thing that you're focusing on. But other than that, I mean, are you guys realising that you need to change as you respond to your customers changing as well, or?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the really rewarding parts about that merger is we plotted out all the systems that were being used internally, and there was a lot of synergies there, and there were some really good opportunities. And the most rewarding part in terms of taking that to the customer is that these are part of our customer ecosystem as well. So when you go into a client and you're talking about these are the compelling reasons how using this technology would benefit your client, we can sort of have a bit of a grin on our face and say, we know because we're using it in our interaction with you. And so you are a case study for what we are offering to you.
Customers change. Do you see that it goes back through the ecosystem? So, you know, if a bank wants to change for whatever reason, the provider, the partner, the vendor, everyone seems to change. Do you think it's a collective industry thing rather than just the customer pursuing it?
Somewhat, because I think at the end of the day, you need to work backwards from the customer in order to be successful. So you've got to work backwards from there. And so if your customers and their customers are putting the same expectation upstream, then we're all going to be experiencing similar business problems, right? But we absolutely practice what we preach. We are very, very heavy users of our own technology and our partner ISV technology as well. So the partners, the tech partners that we work with, we use their tech. So you know, we really practice what we preach. But I do think it's always a true for one customer. Just depends how many streets down you're going.
And on the final area of focus now for the last 10 minutes or so is around marketing, because I just want to bring you both smiling. David, sort of one word answers first. I mean, does your business value marketing? Yes or no?
Yes.
Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
It's funny you think that's a ridiculous question to ask in the channel, but if I'd have asked it a year ago or 2 years ago, I'd probably say the most would say maybe no, or to your point earlier, judging it, misunderstand it, I don't quite get it. So, David, to go back to you now that we're all in agreement, and I kind of knew you'd say yes as well anyway, so it's a safe question. It would have been great if you said no, we'd have finished early. But David, just to you, I mean, what's the motivation behind building out that strategy? I mean, and that's a very loose term, me sitting here and just saying marketing, that can mean a million things. But I mean, is it, you know, are you looking to get new customers? Are you looking to expand? Are you looking to do more with your current base? What's the motivation there?
Yeah, so I guess it's twofold. We've had great growth over the last 5 years. We've done 50% year on year, and that's come from customer referral. Basically, there's been no other way that's come in, do a good job, and 1 in 10 times they'll tell someone, or the vendor will tell someone about it, and it will come back to you. But we were discussing as a sales team, and obviously business owners are salespeople. That's how business owners get to where they are. And we were doing a great job at selling and a great job at what we do, but we weren't doing a very good job of telling people about it. And we started with an agency that didn't work so well, so we hired in-house, which has been fantastic. And the strategy is actually mainly about that cross-sell. So it's mainly about when we're in a customer and doing a good job on one technology, helping them understand that, hey, we do all these other things as well. It feels like we're really specialists. So we understand why you think this is all we do, but we've got specialist practices in our business. New customer acquisition is always an objective of marketing, but for us, it's definitely that cross-sell.
Okay. Daniel, what about your side? You know, your motivating factors.
Yeah, so we have a bit of a mixture. So we use an external agency, we have a marketing manager and a couple of part-time marketing resources as well. So our priorities right now is to not be just another MSP sort of saying the same thing and sort of regurgitating a lot of the same information. And we've been doing that for a long time. So it's a conscious shift recently more to remind our prospects and our clients that we are a business too, and to use ourselves more. We've got a lot of great case studies that have served us well over the years. We've tried lots of different tactics that have had different yield at different times, but we're trying to put more irons in the fire that are more meaningful and more personal. And so bringing back to why you should do business with us as a business. And it's turned our whole tender response process on its head, because we're using a lot of the marketing material about who we are and why you should be in business with us, and then just personalising it to the needs of the audience, instead of trying to create this killer content that is so niche. We're using that sort of understanding of their business to bring them in to the relationship factor first, and then sort of worry more about the content after that.
And as you were saying, your team, everyone in there is an advocate now, and was it 90 odd staff you have now? Or something like that?
I believe 92 today.
I believe you just hired two while you were out.
Yeah, I met them today.
I believe like you too. And Georgina, just on your side, and this is going really back to 101 from a channel perspective, but what do you see as the motivating factors for companies that want to start building out marketing programs or strategies and deploying Marketo? I mean, as I said, I put up there net new customers, but as David mentioned, cross-sell capability. So it's not as black and white. I mean, what do you see as some of the key points?
Yeah, I think some of the organisations in this channel ecosystem that have adopted Marketo have done so for retention and around that overall customer lifetime value. But also there's some element of lead acquisition in there as well. And as I mentioned in our presentation, the marrying of sales and marketing and aligning those KPIs, because, you know, as we did with the hand raise, a lot of you employ more salespeople than you do marketers, and that's natural in the business in which you operate. But how can you make your sales team more productive and making sure that you're putting really qualified, win-ready leads in their hands to go and spend their time on prospecting and nurturing and following up and then feeding that back if they're not ready, so they don't just fall into a black hole. So, you know, I think there's a couple of drivers, which is why I focus on those two today. We do see other business problems that we solve for, which are probably more prevalent in other industries, but might not necessarily not be relevant to you. You know, organisations adopt us because they want a single view of the customer, and that's the driving factor around having a single data hub around all their customer data, so they can listen and learn from that and then respond accordingly and engage accordingly. Personalisation across multiple different channels
Flat
and
Bulldogs
at scale.
reference.
Yeah, exactly. So that's really important as well. Usually the personalisation factor is the core motivation for evaluating our tech. And then there are other organisations which, you know, are probably more smaller, and they're just wanting to do more with less. So it's a pure automation play. They're like, I just need to get started. And most of our customers' journeys actually do start with some level of initial adoption, and then we work with them to sort of mature and build that out. So that's why we sort of put up like a 2020 vision. It's not something that you can expect to switch on and start today, because you need to transform and resource and make sure you've got the right people and process and the tech in place in order to take you on that journey. You can start small by automating what we're doing today, and then learning from that, and then pulling in other data sources and then building on from there.
Daniel, just to bring you in, and you know, we put up around the challenges that partners have faced, and a lot of people in here maybe the MD or sales director, so they might not be in marketing or have marketing capabilities, and they were the people that we asked. And Georgina, you said around misunderstood, which keep coming back to, but it seems to be the number one point, and we've seen that as well. Can you at least agree or see where a lot of partners are coming from when they are skeptical of marketing, maybe because they don't understand the leads, the lead frame, the time frame, or the MDFs? There's a lot of factors in there that is alien to partners. It's not, with the greatest respect, I know I said rubbish earlier, but it's probably a similar word, but it's not their core skill set. They're very good at building technical businesses. So
yeah,
do you see that?
I think that's one of the key points that used to building a technical business based on a technical capability, generally somewhat predictable outcomes or controlled outcomes. And so when you're trying to build marketing capability, you kind of firing shots into the dark for a while there, and you have to try things. And people who are from an exact science or somewhat exact science, that's pretty daunting. And then bringing someone into your technical business who's creative, potentially too creative, and then trusting them to help you with this, or even worse, in trusting someone outside of your business first, is equally as scary. And then if you have a bad experience, you can sort of recoil and think that's just how it's going to be. And on the other side of that is the way we're marketed to. There is a big gap between your likes of Apple down to some really poor marketing, which I can't give an example off the top of my head. But we are marketed to on such a broad spectrum, and so you can't afford to be Apple, so why would you try it, sort of thing. So there's a lot of reasons, and I've had a lot of conversations because we've tried and failed and tried and failed. I think we've got a pretty good mix now, but that was through a lot of persistence, and this is a key part, committing to it as a key part of our growth.
Before I finish on your priorities around marketing for the year, David, on your side, just to cover off that point around the challenges, I mean, do you hear what Daniel's saying there around some of the, because it's not easy to, if it's not your core skill set and you build a technical business, it's very hard to have that shift.
Yeah, definitely. I think the thing I agree most with what Daniel said is that measurable outcome piece. When you get a cross-sell from a customer, if that was your goal, how do you know that wasn't from a sales motion, it was from your marketing? And you've got to take this helicopter approach to sort of look at the data and say, well, where's it leading? What's it doing? And it's not as easy to get and see the outcomes coming in there. And I also like the point around the consumerization and understanding that you can get some great marketing out there, but that TV ad costs 15 grand every time it runs, and probably 150 grand. So we can't do that. It's not part of what we do. And you've got to understand what you can get and how you're getting those outcomes back from those dollars. And I think measuring is hard for scientific and technical people.
I was just going to add, I think you both hit the nail on the head. It's the technical background, you're building a business from a technical point of view. But if you as a business owner can't understand how the money that you're spending over here in marketing is contributing to this revenue over here, then it becomes less about understanding the role and understanding the business impact. So it sounds like neither are being met, because if the marketer have the tools to enable them to report on multi-touch attribution, right from when Chris Jacobs was anonymous, right through to when it resulted in a sale, and the SEO dollars that you put behind search, and the money that you put into web, or the money you put into that event, then it's going to be a lot easier to understand and value marketing, because there's data, hard data, that's actually showing what the measurable impact is of the spend of the business's investment in marketing. And it is hard to do, but there are solutions right now to do that. And it is fast becoming a very big driver for a lot of customers that we're speaking to today. It's almost like the holy grail.
There's a good point around measurement, and as you say, David, there could be times where marketing has delivered, but you might think it's sales, or you don't know where it's come from. So that's even almost worse. So just to finish, before I let you all go, I'll just go along the line. I'll start with you, Daniel, just in terms of a priority around marketing, and in terms of what do you focus on. And Georgie, I've already asked you about your priorities, so I'll ask more around your message to the people in the room as a takeaway. So Daniel, for you.
I guess ours is relatively straightforward, perhaps predictable. We're spending, say, the next 90 days at least on re-establishing our identity in the market. Two 25-year-old businesses coming together. We want to make sure that we're understood, that we don't lose any of the legacy on either side, and that the market understands who we are. It's kind of almost like a relaunch, which is scary for 25-year-old businesses.
So you're going to say two 25-year-old founders.
Yeah,
Nick Moran, that was
yeah, yes. They'd love for me to say that. And actually, one of them, Nick, would love for me to say the second one as well, is that our relationship with the vendors has changed dramatically since January 1st. We had some really strong relationships that were shared. Now we're trying to make sure that we leverage those together. I was laughing to myself before around the MDF discussion. We still get calls on a Friday to say we've got 15k MDF. We need a yes or no by close of business Monday. And by the way, you have to co-fund. And we're like, okay, great. How about we get more strategic with that? And so we're pushing back, which is exciting. Hopefully more opportunities. I think the third is just the nurture. So we are always prospecting and looking for new clients, but similar to what Dave was talking about, that cross-sell and the client referral, and a lot of their growth being on the back of that. So we want to make sure that we use the first two to help nurture the existing clients.
Great. David, what about you?
Yeah, so I guess a lot of our focus is marketing the outcome for the customer. So there is close on 100,000 IT firms in this country. There's probably nothing about our brand that, other than what we do for our customers, would make us stand out on a bunch of, there's 100,000 people. That's like the full MCG. And just another pun. So what we're really trying to do is market that outcome to our customers. So this is what we've done. This is what we can do. Here's where we can help. rather than this is who we are. Once they're inside the family and they're working with us, that's when we focus on that this is who we are, this is how we operate, this is what you can expect, which is our brand. But when we're doing our outbound marketing, really marketing that outcome and saying this is what you can achieve, here's some journeys that we've taken customers on before, they're just like you, why don't you come along and have a chat to us?
Great. And last word, Georgina?
Yeah, I think that's really important to basically leverage your customers to be advocates and showcase them as advocates for your business and the outcomes they've been able to achieve in partnership. Final words.
Technically say what you want because it is final words.
That's like so open-ended. I could say anything.
Go for it.
Look, no, in all seriousness, I think we work with a lot of different organisations at varying levels of maturity around adopting, whether it be marketing automation or trying to solve for the business problems that we've spoken about today. We're always open for a conversation. Our customer success managers are specifically KPI'd on the success of our customers in terms of their overall business outcomes that they're getting out of adopting